What's up, y'all? My name's Dave. I also go by Incendavery, and I make comics. I also make weekly videos for my Patreon, as well as monthly bonus videos, which is what this is. So welcome. Now, I admit it, the title of this video is complete clickbait. I just want you to listen to me rant about my opinions, so I'll cut to the chase. In my opinion, the biggest mistake, the largest goof, the hugest missed opportunity in Stranger Things Season 1 is this. Jonathan Byers should have been a canonically gay character. Now, a couple disclaimers. Disclaimer the first. I am gay, and this is my gay opinion. If you want to hear me, a gay, talk about my gay opinion, this is the video for you. If you do not, perhaps this is not the video for you. Second disclaimer. I've only just watched Season 1, and I don't have any knowledge of the Stranger Things fandom. I have no idea what the popular opinion is on this matter. So if everyone in the universe has already come to this conclusion by themselves and I'm late to the party, my bad. I can only hope I manage to contribute something new and interesting. Third disclaimer. I'm going to be discussing and using the Q slur in this video. I have personally reclaimed it and do identify as queer, but not everyone has to, or needs to, or is even remotely comfortable with it. So I wanted to give a heads up about that. I will, for convenience and clarity, be using the phrase queer character to denote a character that falls under the LGBT umbrella. Please do not ever call a real-life person queer without their prior go-ahead. Also, I shouldn't even have to say this, but straight cis people should not be saying, typing, or using that word. Ever. Okay, with all that out of the way, let's begin. Jonathan would have been a much more intriguing character as a gay man. For how much the show enjoys throwing around the Q slur, it was pretty bold of them not to feature any canonically queer characters. There were a lot of suggestions by other characters that one or both of the Byers brothers are queer, so I'm going to mostly consider them as candidates, since it would make no sense to include a queer character but then have a totally different character be called violent homophobic slurs. And I don't know, it's shitty. I think it's shitty that they felt the need to include that kind of thing at all. I think maybe it was a little out of line. But whatever, moving on. As an aside, I think that Barb being bi is a no-brainer, given that Shannon Purser is openly bi, and also every person I've met that Barb reminds me of is bi. It's just a technical impossibility that Barb could possibly not be bi. But, by my own rules, I'm only allowed to fix one mistake, and Barb has several. 1, she should have been bi. 2, she shouldn't have died. 3, there really should have been an entire subplot about Barb trying to find her way out of the Upside Down, reuniting with Nancy, and maybe also they kiss. Barb had more potential than half of the supporting cast, I'm just saying. And if there isn't a Barb undies and kisses Nancy arc in Season 2, I will take it as a personal insult. But I'm only allowed to fix one mistake, so I'll save my thoughts on Barb TM for another time. Back to the Byers. While obviously little kids can be gay just the same as older folks, I just don't think the show would be able to do a Will is gay actually arc gracefully. It just doesn't really fit in well with his dynamic. He's got a lot of other stuff going on thematically with his mom and the Upside Down and his friends and all. As another aside, given how people have been interacting with the actors that play the kids, I feel like it might possibly maybe be a mistake to give any of the kids romantic subplots. Jonathan, on the other hand, would be a great candidate. It would have added a lot of depth to his character. Jonathan Byers as a character is solitary, troubled, and shunned by his peer group who considered him to be a weirdo. I'll be honest, as a straight guy, his character is pretty bland and kind of creepy, given how he interacts with Nancy right off the bat. But being gay adds depth and direction to Jonathan Byers as a character. Rather than the other characters sort of nebulously thinking that he's weird, it gives something solid to base this aspect of his character on. Weird and definitely queer. The fact that he can't bond with anyone else in town besides his younger brother makes so much more sense if we look at him through that lens. It also solves the problem, for me, that any hints at a Nancy-Jonathan romance feel kinda forced. To me, and this is just my opinion, Jonathan's affection towards Nancy reads so much more like what you feel when you're a queer kid who's been isolated for so long, but then you suddenly find a friend of another gender. But also, internalized homophobia and compulsory heterosexuality really mucks up your understanding of what friendship for someone feels like versus what actual attraction for someone feels like, and you can't really tell whether you're actually attracted to the person romantically or if you're just so goddamn happy to have an actual friend, finally. I don't know if I am explaining this that well, but it's the vibes I get. Plus, there's just a certain bond between a Mlem guy and his Wallowa friend. It's a special thing, and it's definitely what Jonathan and Nancy's dynamic feels like to me. Finally, the beginning bit where Jonathan takes photos of Nancy makes a lot more sense narratively if we look at it as a gay boy trying to figure out how to be attracted to girls, how to mimic the heterosexual attraction he sees other boys displaying. Now, I'm not saying it makes it forgivable. I want to be 100% clear on that. No matter what the motivation, it was a creepy, shitty thing to do. And I don't feel like it was satisfactorily addressed by Jonathan and Nancy, honestly. But it does make the whole thing make way more sense to me. Given everything else we know about Jonathan's character, I have a hard time swallowing that he'd be distracted from a hunt for his beloved brother to fuck around taking pictures of people who he doesn't even like. I know the photos are an important puzzle piece later, but I do feel like my point stands. To sum up thus far, I think having a gay Jonathan Byers strengthens his character arc, gives him a stronger and more believable arc with Nancy, and generally improves his character. Also, I'm so beyond not thrilled for the Jonathan-Nancy-Steve love triangle that the writers seem to be setting up for season 2. Which brings me to my next point. Steve didn't need a redemption arc. Full stop. He just didn't. I didn't mind rooting against him as an antagonist, but I can't get behind him as a protagonist or supporting character. I know you're thinking, Dave, what does this have to do with gay Jonathan? It's relevant, I promise. Steve is the kind of guy whose main MO is to pressure girls into having sex with him using various means to increase his leverage, including but not limited to his popularity, his inability to accept when he's told no, and his age. He mentions having already took the chem class Nancy is currently taking, implying that he is older. Yes, not much older, but at least from my perspective, at that age, every bit can make a bit of a difference. He also seems quite adept at the game of using and manipulating societal conventions and unspoken rules to make it so his victim can't turn him down without turning it into a confrontation. See, for example, when he invites himself over to study, or when he asks Nancy over to his house. I could go further into why I personally don't like him, but that would involve laying out a lot of my personal trauma, and I'm just not comfortable with that. So, moving on past his initial characterization, his redemption arc felt really shoehorned in. He did a 180 turn at quite literally the last possible second, didn't go away when Nancy made it clear she didn't want him there, which, Demogorgon aside, not fantastic of him. Hot tip for apologizing, the other person is not required to listen to or accept your apology. And then he busts back in to save Nancy and Jonathan, thus narratively obligating them into forgiving him for all the shitty stuff he did. Second, his motivations? His heel face turn is supposedly motivated by his love for Nancy. But again, I have a hard time buying that. When did he ever, in the entire course of the show, bother to learn anything about her personally? What does he actually know about her besides the fact that she's pretty and she makes him feel good? My point is, even if you can classify that as love, it's a very self-centered love. Third, a redemption arc by itself does not a good character make. You can't just give an antagonistic character a redemption arc and call it a day. First, you need to show us why they deserve a redemption arc. It's an important step in the process that gets left out too often for my taste. After you've demonstrated why the antagonistic character has the potential to be redeemed, then you redeem them. Think Prince Zuko in Avatar. He had a good long period of hiding out in Ba Sing Se and questioning everything he had stood for up until that point. Then, and only then, was he ready to start his redemption arc. And finally, if Steve really just had to have a redemption arc, why not just have the Demogorgon kill him? Yes, I know, poor Steve, martyred before his time. There you go, that's plenty of melodrama for the picking. Also, bonus that provides someone to take Barb's place as a corpse so she can have the arc she so truly deserves. To sum up, I've known plenty of Steve Harringtons in my life. I'll know plenty more. I don't feel any need to see yet another Steve Harrington have his hand held through yet another redemption arc. And I definitely do not need Steve to go through a redemption arc just so there can be someone to add into an ill-conceived love triangle with Nancy, who has been through enough. And Jonathan, who I've made explicitly clear should not be straight. See, I told you it was relevant. Gay Jonathan equals no need for a love triangle with Nancy, equals no need for Steve, equals no redemption arc for Steve. It's just basic algebra. Perhaps you aren't convinced. Worry not, I've saved my most important point for last. Jonathan likes The Clash. The mixtape he makes for his brother includes Should I Stay or Should I Go off their 1982 album Combat Rock. I asked my partner, known punk and music enthusiast, what they think about this album, and they said I've never actually listened to it. So then I googled it, and Wikipedia says that they were trying to restore the chaos and anarchic energy of their early days. I cross-referenced that to my knowledge of The Clash, and confirmed for myself that yes, The Clash is a classic punk band, and therefore, Should I Stay or Should I Go is a punk song. And as we all know, you can't like punk music and also be straight. It's against the rules. Sorry. So in conclusion, Jonathan Byers from Stranger Things Season 1 should have been clearly and canonically gay, and the fact that he wasn't was a huge missed opportunity. Thank you for listening to me rant. I really loved Stranger Things, and I can't wait for Season 2 to come out. What about you? Who's your favorite character? Is there anything you wish was different about Season 1? Is there anything you're hoping will happen in Season 2? Let me know in the comments. And if you liked this video, please consider clicking subscribe to see my monthly bonus videos. A big thanks to my patrons, without whom public monthly bonus videos like this one would not be possible. If you want to join them and see a new video every week for the low price of $1 a month, I'll leave a link down below. Until next time, thanks for watching and stay y'all.